Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first live stream covering the upcoming winter storm across the southern U.S. We've got a lot that we're going to be talking about. Make sure if you are new to the YouTube channel here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me and make sure you've got the notifications turned on. That way, when we're live, you'll get a notification to your mobile device or your laptop letting you know that we are live. Vanessa, great to see you in the chat. If you're joining for the first time as well, drop a message in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from. We've got a lot that we're going to be talking about. I'm going to give it just a couple minutes, let folks get on here, and then we'll kind of start diving into some of the data, some of the forecasts, because there's a lot of information that I'm sure you guys have been seeing, whether that's through TikTok or Facebook. There are some great sources out there, and then there are some that are just clickbait. So I'm going to actually show you what the current forecast is. Obviously, we're still multiple days away from this event, but we are starting to get into that window where we are going to be able to at least get an idea of precipitation types. Timing is starting to get into focus, as well as a rough estimate, I would say, as far as some preliminary guesstimates, really is what I would call it, as far as potential amounts of snow, freezing rain. You'll have some sleet mixing in there. It's really going to depend on exactly where you live as far as the type of impacts that we're going to see. So there's a lot for us to discuss. Power outages, Vanessa, you mentioned that. Yeah, that is definitely going to be a big concern, really, from Texas, Oklahoma, eastward all the way through the Carolinas, starting as early as Friday, the further west, and then spreading east as we go through the weekend. That is going to probably be one of the biggest threats. Obviously, travel conditions are going to be drastically impacted at the airports. Roads in many places across the I-20, I-40 corridors especially will be impassable in places, possibly for multiple days as well. So let's kind of dive into kind of what we're looking at here. And if you're just joining us, thank you so much for joining us this evening on the live stream. If you're in the central southern U.S., Texas and Oklahoma, you guys are going to kind of kick us off with this event on Friday, and then it's going to spread east. And this is the other thing with this event, is this is going to be a long duration event. A lot of times when we have snow or a winter storm kind of traverse here through the southeast in Georgia, a lot of times it will be in and out, maybe in, a day or half a day, where it'll, snow in the morning for a few hours, then by the afternoon it'll be done and gone and out of here. This is going to be a longer duration event. We're talking we could be seeing up to maybe even exceeding 24 to 36 hours of various winter precipitation coming down from the sky, impacting our area here. So let's kind of dive into the data here, and I'll kind of show you what we're looking at here. So this is the current situation. As you can see, we've got a big ridge of high pressure right over here in the eastern U.S., and a developing low pressure system out here in Colorado. We're first going to start here to see a lot of rain, especially as we get into Thursday and Friday. We're going to see a good bit of rain move across the southeast U.S., so that will kind of be how it starts. And then Friday, we'll see the storm system develop here across Texas and Oklahoma and Louisiana into Mississippi, and then spread east on Saturday, and then move through Georgia and the Carolinas Saturday into Sunday. So that's kind of the current timing of things. So I'm going to show you the broad picture here, and then we'll kind of zoom in on the southeast so we kind of see this develop here over the next couple days. So there are two main models. If you're new to all of this, there are two primary models, long-range models that we look at. We have the American model, which is the GFS, and the European model. So this is our American model. There are different strengths and weaknesses to them, but let's kind of take a look here. So this is tomorrow morning. This is midnight tonight, and we'll just kind of step through here. So you can see here the green, obviously, down here. This is rain. And then the blue further north is the snow. So we'll have some rain kind of move in tomorrow night. And then especially on Thursday, we'll have some rain kind of move in here. Thursday into Friday. And then you can see here, this is where it kind of develops, is kind of out here in Texas, Oklahoma. So the green is rain. The red coloring that you see is freezing rain. The purple color that you see is kind of that mixture, so like that sleet, and then the blue is snow. So it's going to kind of start from the west and then move off to the east. So this here, let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. This is Friday afternoon, so start in Texas. And then we could see in Georgia, especially across North Georgia, by Saturday morning, we could already be seeing some sleet and snow, even potentially in the mountains by Saturday. The system kind of develops. You can see a lot of sleet and freezing rain where that purple is. So the further north you are, the greater snow chances you have. So I think Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, Arkansas, those areas will get the majority of the snow. And then here across the Dixie Alley area, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, we're going to really be getting this sleet and freezing rain. So you can see here, this is by Saturday afternoon. A lot of this purple and red here showing up across Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. And then that snow is kind of confined here more to the north of our area here in Georgia. So that'll kind of, at least that's the current thinking. So this is Sunday morning, well, actually right around midnight, 2 a.m. So we still have a ton of sleet and freezing rain kind of falling. We could see snow mix in during the day on Saturday. It's really going to depend on the temperature profile. If we can get that warm nose of air just above the surface to a road, and the entire temperature from ground level all the way up through the atmosphere to be at or below 32 degrees, then we could see more snow and less freezing rain and sleet, which would be a better scenario. But this does look like, especially for Georgia and Alabama, to be a pretty significant ice storm event. I mean, this could be one of the top 3 ice storms in the history of our state, potentially, with some of the totals that we're preliminary seeing. So you can see here, this is Sunday at midnight, and it's still going on. We're still having that freezing rain and mixture. The low kind of finally moves off of the East Coast, but behind that, we still are having that moisture. So that's Sunday morning. And then we have another big round of freezing rain Sunday afternoon coming here into Georgia. So you can see that brighter red shading. And we're going to zoom in on this here. And then maybe some snow on the back side kind of toward the end. So that's kind of looking like maybe Sunday night into Monday is when we would transition from that freezing rain and ice, transitioning over to and more of a snow event. So snow kind of falling after all of that ice has accumulated, which is going to hide the snow, especially on the roads and stuff like that. So Monday, if you wake up Monday morning, you're like, oh, it's just snow, it'll be fine for us to get out on the roads. Absolutely not. Monday morning is going to be absolutely treacherous out there. Monday afternoon, the sun will come out, the clouds will clear. It will warm up Monday above freezing, but not for very long. Might get into the mid-30s on Monday here across Georgia. So, and that's going to be the other thing. Anything that does melt on Monday would then refreeze. So here's a look at the overall temperature forecast. Let's kind of switch over here. We'll zoom in here on the southeast U.S. so we can kind of get an idea. So obviously temperature's pretty mild, and they are warm right now. They are pretty warm right now, and that's actually good news that we're going to have temperatures in the 50s the next couple of days. That's going to allow our power lines, tree branches, things like that it'll take a little bit longer once the freezing rain starts to fall to actually cool those surfaces down to the point where it can actually stick. So the rain ahead of time in one sense is good in that way, but for the roads, already having moisture on the roads, once that temperature drops and those roads do cool, that's where we're going to have similar to what we've seen in the past, where we have these flash freezes and the roads just will quickly ice over. The roads will quickly ice over, but the power lines and tree branches, it'll take them a little bit to cool down and begin icing over. What is supposed to be having his knee done on Monday? What's the over-under? I don't think Monday is going to be a day where you're going to be able to get out and travel in North Georgia. Really, not just North Georgia, but even this ice storm could be potentially reaching down all the way to Macon and maybe even some points just south of Macon as we go in. So look at some of these temperatures that we have come in. So we can see Thursday, beautiful day, warm temperatures. Friday is going to be mild as well. Temperatures in the 50s, 55 degrees on Friday. But here's that cold air over in Arkansas. So again, remember the storm is starting out to our west. We're going to see that cold air really move in on Saturday morning. So we'll have temperatures in the 40s on Saturday. So that's why I'm saying, again, it's going to all start as just rain, a very cold rain. But once those temperatures cool down Saturday afternoon, we get down to 33. You can see the cold air moves in basically from the northeast here in Georgia. And that's actually very typical with these types of setups, where we'll have that warm air. Northwest Georgia will already be having the snow and the ice early Saturday morning. Probably more snow up there. Some of these places could get 6 to 10 inches of snow across portions of northern Georgia, especially into Tennessee. I think places in Tennessee could easily see 12 to 16 inches of snow. Not out of the question with this. Mountains of North Carolina up into the Smokies. Some of those places, I've seen some models that are pushing close to 2 feet of snow. I think that's, possible given the duration of this storm and the amount of moisture that we do have. I mean, this is going to be that heavy, wet snow. So I don't think, that's not out of the question. But by Saturday afternoon, that's when we're going to see, especially here across the Atlanta area, out to Athens, Augusta, all of these areas, that's when our temperature is going to drop down to below freezing, down here to 29. Yes, pool pipes freezing if you lose power. That is definitely a possibility for folks with, in-ground pools, depending on how deep they're buried. If it's anything, near the surface is going to be more quickly to freeze, but if they're, a couple feet underground, they might be okay. Because the nice thing is we are going to get back above freezing by Tuesday. Monday, there's a slight chance we might, like I said, just crack freezing. Again, still depends on where you're at. You might get a few degrees above freezing, but it's going to be short-lived on Monday. And then you can see, look at this, by Tuesday morning, we're back down into the 20s here across Atlanta, even all the way down 30 degrees here in Columbus. And we're talking some places in Tennessee, single digits, up here into the mountains in the teens. So, I mean, it is going to be cold after this snow and ice falls. So here's Tuesday morning. I mean, we're talking temperatures in the teens, single digits further north. This is actually some new data that I'm just now seeing on this. So that is, So pipes freezing is definitely going to be another huge concern all across Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and the Carolinas, and Arkansas, northern Louisiana as well. I mean, we're talking some of these temperatures here, down to the 30s in New Orleans and Panama City and stuff like that in 30. This is going to be another huge Arctic air outbreak. So this could be, it is going to be a long duration event. If power goes out especially in the rural areas. It could take, I would plan on and be preparing for power outages a week or more, possibly, some of the more rural areas, stuff like that, especially if power poles actually snap and come down and they have to replace those utility poles, or the mounts and stuff like that are holding the lines break off of the poles. That's where those power outage durations drastically can increase with these crippling ice storms. This is, again, like I said earlier, this is shaping up to be one of, I would say, the top 3 ice storms in the history of the Southeast if these models that we're looking at verify. Again, this may change, and it will change. What we do see for sure is there is a strong signal that we've had now for the past 3 to 4 days where we're seeing a significant winter storm that is moving across all of the Southeast. So here's kind of the zoom-in view that will kind of step through here. So you can see here's like DeKalb County, here's Gwinnett County, Walton County out here. You got Fulton County, Cobb County. So that's kind of the metro area. You got Birmingham and Mississippi over there. Albany's kind of down here. I know, Terry, I see that you're watching. Georgia, you're in Carolinas up there. They're in the Thomasville area. I think you guys in North Carolina are going to get a ton of snow out of this thing. I think your ice threat is fairly minimal that far north. I think South Carolina is going to get a lot more of the ice, and maybe coastal North Carolina, but there where you're at, I think, is going to be a mostly snow type of event. So here's that look. Some on and off rain showers on Thursday moving through Georgia here. Friday again, Friday morning still having some rain lingering around with those temps as well. And then here's that storm starting Friday afternoon there across Arkansas, and it is going to spread to the east. So again, we're going to have those warm temperatures on Friday afternoon. So Friday rush hour, I think everyone's going to be able to get home from work fine in Georgia and Alabama. If you're in Mississippi or Arkansas, absolutely completely different story. By Friday afternoon, you'll already be having that winter weather moving across the northern part of Mississippi. And you can see pretty much all of Arkansas, southern Arkansas, dealing with that red. That's our freezing rain. So this is Friday night. Starting to see Friday night some of that freezing rain potential moving into northern Georgia, Ellijay, Dahlonega, Cleveland, those kind of areas here in northern Georgia, possibly starting to see some of that. And it's moving here into Alabama by Friday night. And then this is overnight, right before midnight here. Really starting to see it intensify across Mississippi. We're seeing that snow now all the way here through Tennessee and into western North Carolina. Overnight Friday and Saturday morning. We'll have a little bit potentially of a brief lull here across the Atlanta area. Still could be some light rain. At this point, temperatures again are still above freezing. So that's the good news. And then Saturday is when things kind of just go downhill rather quickly. So you can see the red here is the freezing rain. So we'll have some spotty freezing rain, especially on the western suburbs of Atlanta by Saturday morning when we wake up. The far northern Georgia tier here definitely going to be dealing with that winter weather by then, as well as Tennessee, North Carolina. South Carolina still looking good. Spotty rain showers across southern Georgia there as well. So this is Saturday morning around 2 a.m. This is around 5 a.m. local time here, Eastern time. That's when things are going to start going downhill, especially across the northern Atlanta suburbs and northwestern Atlanta suburbs. So places like Rome, Canton, those areas are going to start seeing that freezing rain threat move in. So the western suburbs and northwestern suburbs will probably be the first batch to start seeing that winter precipitation. It still could be all rain, a very cold rain at that on Saturday morning. Lynchburg, Virginia is going to be a all snow event up there in Lynchburg. Traveling to Lynchburg would probably be, if you're not there by wherever you're going to be, you need to be by Friday night, because by Saturday morning, the conditions are just going to quickly deteriorate throughout the day on Saturday into Sunday. So by Saturday morning, it'll be snowing heavily already in Lynchburg, Virginia, and through pretty much all of North Carolina, upstate South Carolina, with a little bit of that freezing mix, sleet, snow mix. And then seeing more of that sleet and freezing rain here across Mississippi, Alabama, getting into northwest Georgia on Saturday morning. Then again, so this is where things will be focused. It'll start on the west, but then we'll see it erode. We're actually going to see things change from rain to the snow, basically coming down the 85 corridor. So imagine you're on 85 at the South Carolina border. The snow and sleet and freezing rain is actually going to basically be traveling south on 85. So it's going to be inching closer to Atlanta from the northeast as we go through the day on Saturday. So this is, 11 a.m. on Saturday morning. So we're starting to see that freezing rain in, northern Gwinnett County, getting over to, Henry County and not Henry County, Walton County here. And then as we get into Saturday afternoon, right around 1 o'clock, by then it's really that freezing rain is really starting to come down here across Atlanta. Further north, it's more of that sleet and snow mixture, which is what all this purple is. And then it's all snow pretty much in North Carolina and Tennessee. And a lot of that sleet and freezing rain here further off to the west. So this is Saturday around noon. Continuing here, really start this. I think Saturday afternoon is where we're going to start seeing those accumulations start. I think Saturday morning we won't see the freezing rain accumulations start probably until Saturday afternoon. But again, once the here, let me flip back over to myself. Basically, once think of a power line, right? Once the power line is cold enough and it's raining and those raindrops start sticking to the power line, that's when we're going to start seeing that accumulation in those lines. The temperatures of the lines drop below that 32 degrees, even down to 31 degrees. That's where it starts sticking, and it will pretty quickly start accumulating, I think, by Saturday afternoon, where we could see accumulations up to 2 to 3 hundredths of an inch of ice accumulation per hour. Maybe even some higher totals possible as we go into, Saturday evening into Sunday morning. So I think Saturday evening and Sunday morning is when some of the heaviest of the sleet and or freezing rain could start occurring. Again, we're going to see some time periods where it may be freezing rain, and then you're going to start seeing sleet mixing in and falling from the sky. Those are those it looks like little ice pellets that are falling from the sky. It actually will cover the ground, and that's where it's like that crunchiness. It's not snow, it's actually like sleet. So we'll have a layer of sleet, and then again, there we go. Let's go back here. There we go. So that's Saturday afternoon. And then as we get into Saturday evening, we'll again see that transition where we kind of move the freezing rain even further south and west and possibly have some more sleet. And then as we get into Sunday morning, the sun rises. We'll have it'll kind of probably change back to a freezing rain mixture. And then we'll start seeing the snow on the northwest side. And then as this is moving out through Sunday afternoon, we'll have another big burst of precipitation, I think, Sunday afternoon here, it looks like, across the Atlanta metro. Mostly freezing rain with some sleet mixing in. And then, especially south of the city on Sunday night, over into the Carolinas, So Georgia there on Sunday night into Monday, that's where you'll transition from snow possibly over to more of a sleet mixture, and then that freezing rain closer to the coast potentially. And you can see this freezing rain here goes all the way through back to Birmingham and then even down toward like Hattiesburg and Jackson, Mississippi. It does begin to lose a little bit of steam overnight Sunday into Monday. That's why the colors are lighter. But then we'll see the snow, more snow kind of pushing its way in on the backside of the system, and possibly pretty much this is like midnight on Sunday night into like 2 a.m. Monday morning. We could see a quick little 1 to 2 inches of snow fall across Georgia before that system clears out Monday morning, early Monday morning around 5 a.m. So that's one model. And then we can see that cold air is just going to stick around all day Monday. We're not barely going to get above freezing. And then through Tuesday. Tuesday is the first day where we'll probably get above freezing. But that is our first real shot of above freezing. But my point being, this is a long duration event. What do things look like in Milledgeville? So Milledgeville is kind of down here off of Interstate 16 east of Macon. Down there, they will get some freezing rain probably Sunday night, I think, is when we'll see that start. But they'll have more mostly rain, and then Sunday is where that freezing rain moves kind of south toward the Macon, Milledgeville, even almost down to Savannah, possibly there on Sunday. So Sunday is going to be their big impact day. The further south you go, it's a little bit later of a start to your event. In central Georgia is going to be mostly Sunday through Monday morning, because it'll linger, as you can see here. Monday morning, this is about 4 a.m. Monday morning, 4 or 5 a.m. Still having some freezing rain here across central Georgia early Monday morning. So college classes likely will be canceled on Monday down there. I wouldn't be surprised about it. But then by Monday afternoon, everything's clear, just maybe a little bit of lingering out there on the Carolina coast. This is just one model. I do want to show you the other model, because one thing you'll notice with the model differences is that I want to show you is the snow. In this particular model, all the snow stays north. We don't really get a whole bunch of snow here in Georgia until the very end of the event. As it's exiting, we might get a couple inches of snow toward the end of the event. Taking a look, let's flip over here to our European model. And this is the same. This is the long range model. Then we're going to kind of zoom in, get an idea of some of the more shorter range models that are happening. Likely, Dale, yes. On Monday, I do expect Atlanta and pretty much all of northern Georgia, South Carolina, and really much of the Southeast to be closed down, especially if we actually get these totals that we're expecting, which we're about to take a look at. So don't go anywhere, guys. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a look at these totals. So let's take a look here. This is the European model. So you can see, again, Thursday we've got rain. And then Friday, it starts out here again in Arkansas, Texas, and Oklahoma. Friday night. And we can see here the European model is a lot more aggressive with the ice. It's a little bit better handling that. In the GFS model, you saw that there was a lot more purple on the map, which is that sleet. The GFS doesn't handle the precipitation types quite as well, in my opinion, as the Euro. So this here to me is a little bit better of a depiction, just showing you the widespread ice storm that we could have with this event. So this is Saturday afternoon, but notice the difference between the GFS and the Euro. The Euro's a little bit further north with the precipitation, taking a lot more of that ice into far northern Georgia and Tennessee at first, before dropping it south on Saturday night into Sunday morning is when you see a lot of that start coming into. Right there, you can see that sharp line between the rain and the freezing rain here in Georgia on Sunday morning. And then that sticks around here through Sunday. You can see the snow back here in Arkansas. So this here, right here, this basically it's a lee trough that's funneling all this cold air down from the North Georgia mountains, down from the Smoky Mountains into Georgia. And what's happening is at the surface, the temperatures at the surface, I'm going to get a little nerdy on you here, guys. At the surface, the temperatures here are 28 degrees. This red line is our temperature line. The green line here is our dew point line. So at the surface, it's 28 degrees. But this blue dashed line here that kind of goes up at a 45-degree angle, this is our 0-degree Celsius line, or 32 degrees. So at the surface, it's frozen. But just above the surface, we have this huge, what we call a warm nose of air above the surface. So as the snow, 5-10 miles up in the air, as that snow falls through that warm layer of air, it melts and it's rain. But then by the time that rain hits the surface, hits the ground, it freezes on contact because it's 28 degrees on the ground level. So that's why they're seeing this as such a huge ice storm. Because if we just had a little bit of a warm nose of air, there would be a greater chance of this being a snowstorm. But because that warm nose is so pronounced pretty much from, half a kilometer, I'd say like 5,000 feet, really up to 10,000 feet, it's so thick, it really promotes that ice storm type of precipitation. And that's exactly what we see. So Sunday is going to be the really impactful day across Georgia. So I don't think we'll be having church on Sunday or Sunday night. I don't think that many places across the Southeast will be able to get to work Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, possibly, depending on how much melting happens. But again, the power outage potential with this is absolutely significant across much of the Southeast, from Arkansas, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, probably southern Tennessee, much of northern and central Georgia, here into even into the Carolinas. So the Euro paints a much more intense ice storm, whereas the GFS has it as an ice storm, but it gives us a greater shot of snow, whereas the Euro here is keeping the snow really further north into Tennessee, Kentucky, southern Kentucky, and the Carolinas and Virginia. So you might be able to sled on ice. I wouldn't recommend it though, but it is possible. But again, looking at the temperatures with this system, so you can see here, once we get into really Saturday evening into Sunday morning, we're below freezing. You can see there's a little bit of a warm nose here across Alabama, right? And we get, again, 35 degrees. That's our high on Monday. But then we have this, again, reinforced cold air as we go from Monday and into Tuesday. So whatever does melt is going to refreeze on Tuesday morning. So, again, I don't think we may be to the point where we can really venture out potentially till Wednesday. So that's one thing. Let's take a look at some of these totals, okay? I know this is what you guys have been wanting to see. So, again, this is going to change, but this is the latest thinking as far as snowfall, okay? So this is the latest thinking as far as snowfall. So we might see a little bit of snow Friday up in the mountains of North Georgia. This is, again, the European model. So you can see here kind of comes the snow on Sunday there across northern Arkansas and across Tennessee. So it's really confined to far northern Georgia as we go through Sunday. So the European model not really giving us any love as far as snowfall. The Europeans basically painting this is 100% ice storm, some sleet mixed in, so you might get an inch or two of sleet. But as far as just pure on snowfall, not really showing us anything, right? Now, if we go back, this is from earlier today, and this is what else we watch. Notice how earlier today, the previous run did bring the snow further south, right? If we go back one more time, and this is what we're looking for as trends, is the snow line moving north or south, right? So it was moving north, but now the last three runs, that's for the European model, the snow threat is moving north. You can see some of these totals, a foot of snow out here in the Carolinas and even a foot and a half back into Arkansas. But here around the Atlanta area, maybe an inch, right? Maybe an inch. But again, this is still subject to change. We're still 4 days away from this event. So these totals are going to change. But the latest model run for this does, again, keep all that snow further off to the north. All right? So maybe, inch, half inch to an inch is what it's looking like. Now, the ice potential, that's one snowfall, right? The ice potential, this is, again, just an estimate. These are just estimates. Don't hold me to this. This is not a forecast at all. But you can see here significant ice. I mean, we're talking over an inch of ice accrual potentially in Atlanta, right? If that were to happen, that would not only bring down trees and power lines, but that can bring down those high tension power lines, right? Those large metal pole power lines where this is causing crippling damage to the infrastructure across the southeast. You can see here where this blue shading is, right? And you can see that ice storm goes all the way down here toward Macon and even almost to north of Savannah, right? So ice is going to be the biggest threat that we're seeing with this right now. Do I think we'll get over an inch of ice? I don't think so. I think that, again, with this being still so far out, the models aren't able to really get a great handle on ice. I think one thing you'll notice here as we go through in time is, remember how I was talking about how Sunday's the big day, right? Especially for Georgia. So by Sunday morning, between Saturday and to Sunday morning, it's showing us have gotten about a little under 0.4 of an inch of ice. Let's go forward 3 hours. So in 3 hours, it has us picking up almost another whole 1/10 of an inch of ice, right? So that's, again, roughly, 0.03 of an inch per hour, which is pretty significant. So it basically has us picking up roughly 1/10 to 1/20 of an inch every 3 hours on Sunday. By Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m., it has us basically at an inch. And then 3 hours later, almost 1.2. And then it slows down as we go into Sunday night. And then it's over here in the Carolinas. And then that's it. That's through. We're into Wednesday now. So that's one model run, right? Let's take a look at, and again, this is why when I'm doing this, I really like to take a blend of models, because one model paints one picture, another model paints a completely different picture. What do you notice about this model? This model, yes, we still have ice, but it has it much further south, and it keeps it along the coast, meaning that here in the Atlanta area, if this were to occur and the ice were to stay further south, then we would have a lot more sleet and potentially a little bit more snow in this scenario. So that track between the two models, with one coming further north and this one coming, say 50, 60 miles further south, that is a big difference in ice impacts for especially big cities like Atlanta, up to Chattanooga, Tupelo, those areas, upstate South Carolina. So what I like to do is kind of take a look at some of our what we call ensembles. This kind of combines all the different models into one, right? So to give us an idea of some of our freezing rain totals, this is the probability of having freezing rain greater than 1/10 of an inch, right? Greater than 1/10 of an inch. So 96% probability there in southern Arkansas. And you can see here, it's a pretty high probability that we're going to have at least some ice. We're looking at 90% here across Atlanta. 85 to 90%. Out here in Athens, 92%. So you can kind of, by looking at this, we can see a good idea as to what's the probability of us actually getting ice to accumulate. And the probability is definitely high. 85% of us getting at least minimum 1/10 of an inch of ice or greater. Yeah, flamethrower would be a great thing to melt the ice. But that's one thing. Another thing that we can take a look at here is, let's take a look at our snowfall probability being greater than 1 inch, right? So this is kind of where are we going to see snow over 24 hours that could be an inch or more. So as we come forward through time, you can see here that it's a pretty low probability for us here in Atlanta. About a 10% chance that right now, again, this will change, but right now about a 10% chance that we get more than 1 inch of snow. That's why I'm thinking, my personal thoughts as of right now is ice is the primary threat. Sleet is also a big threat, which doesn't get captured in either of these, right? And then snow right now does look like a low threat. The trend has been that the snow is moving further north, which is bringing us more of that freezing rain and sleet. So, again, that is the current thinking right now, 10 to maybe 20% chance probability of us getting greater than 1 inch of snow with this. But look up here in Tennessee, 76. So you can see here further north, again, this is the ensemble model, which is taking all the different models and putting them together and taking kind of like the average of them all into one. So that's kind of the thinking on the snow there. Now, let's take a look here at some of our high resolution model. We have some new data that's actually starting to come in on some of these, but we're gonna have to go back to probably the previous run to get the full thing. So let me go back. So this will actually give us some a better idea as far as totals go in the short term. There we go. How likely is that we lose power in Duluth? If a lot of our lines are underground, how likely is it that we lose power in Duluth? That's an excellent question, Joy. So underground power lines, obviously, in your neighborhood, as long as the lines feeding those lines don't come down, then you wouldn't lose power. But the probability of lines that are running into your neighborhood coming down is pretty great. So I would still say that you'll have a very high likelihood of losing power, even if you do have underground power lines. Now, it may be a little bit later than some areas. Like where I live, we have a line that comes directly into our house off of a telephone pole in the front yard, right? So if there's branches that are over a set of power lines, that's what knocks out the power, is tree branches falling on power lines. If we have people out on the roads and there are accidents, and they hit a power pole, obviously they skid off the road and hit a power pole, that's going to knock it out. And then obviously too, with some of these bigger transmission lines and substations, right, with all this ice accruing on substations, that can cause equipment failure at those substations, which then knocks out power for a much larger region, right, if a substation goes down near your neighborhood. So excellent questions that you guys are asking here this evening. All right, so let's take a look here at some of this snowfall forecast. Another look here at this snowfall forecast. Because I would personally, snow is going to be much better for us if we can get it. But again, with that really warm nose, that's what we all need to be praying for, is that the weather will cooperate at 5,000 to 10,000 feet above our heads, and we'll get the weather to get much colder up there and actually be below freezing, and then it will all be snow, right? Yeah, see. So let me go back to the national here. So here's a broad view of basically this gets us, it doesn't even get me far enough, only gets me through Friday morning. Yeah, so by tomorrow we'll actually start to see some of the more high resolution data, because we'll be once we get within 84 hours, that's when we can start seeing some of the more high resolution. So this is actually just now coming in. We only got the first 36 hours, but we can go back to the previous run, which is, that one's finishing up. So this still isn't going to get us as far as we need. Go back to this morning. Yeah. Here, let's take a look at this one. So this is, again, another blend of all the models together. So here's showing, you can see here, there's the snow. So you can see portions basically from Oklahoma through Arkansas into Tennessee, western North Carolina, up into Virginia is where the current thinking of some of the heaviest snow, like Lynchburg, possibly could have a foot of snow. But down here in Georgia, where we're at, maybe an inch of snow, right? 2 inches on the northern suburbs, possibly. But mostly a freezing rain. Taking a look at the freezing rain, this again is a blend of all the models. Let's kind of come back in here. So here's Atlanta, here's Athens, Rome, you can see. So this is the ice potential, right? So this here takes an average of all the different models. And so this is why I keep saying, I'm thinking half of an inch of ice seems reasonable. And this is showing the latest run here, 0.46 for Atlanta and about 0.6 of an inch out here for Athens and up into, you can see Columbia in these areas, right? And less further south. Still significant. Anything over a quarter of an inch, 0.25 inches, is significant. Once we get into that half-inch range, that's where those power lines really start coming down. Tree branches are breaking off. So, again, I do think that there will be significant power outages across Georgia. So this is Saturday, 7 a.m. And then by 1 p.m., we start seeing the ice coming into Atlanta. This is by Saturday evening, so not a ton on Saturday. Again, Sunday's the big day. We got maybe a tenth of an inch, close to a tenth of an inch of ice. Yeah, if you're wanting to travel somewhere to avoid this storm, again, you need to be at your location wherever you're going to ride this out. Whether you're staying here in Georgia, going to go up to Kentucky, want to go down to Florida, Virginia, you need to be in that location by Friday evening, because by Saturday morning, we're going to have the impacts starting by Saturday morning, especially by Saturday afternoon. So this is, again, Saturday 1 a.m. By 7 a.m., already up here in Greenville, Rock Hill, starting to see some ice, and some of that moving into northwestern Georgia. And then it really picks up overnight Saturday into Sunday morning. So this is Sunday 1 a.m. There's 7 a.m. We're at 0.3 of an inch. 1 p.m. Sunday afternoon. And then by 7 p.m. Sunday afternoon. 1 a.m. Monday morning. And then kind of finishing by 7 a.m. Monday morning. It should all be out of here. I have a rehearsal Friday night with student drivers. Are we still good? Yes. I think Friday night it'll be raining. It'll be a cold rain, but Friday looks fine. So I think the rest of the work week should be fine. It's really not going to start till Saturday, really Saturday afternoon. Saturday morning, even by 7 a.m. If you need to do an errand on Saturday morning, you could do it. I would just have everything done by noon on Saturday and be in your place wherever you're going to spend this storm here in Georgia. You need to be basically at your location by noon on Saturday, because that's when we'll start seeing the ice. And then by Saturday, the roads will basically become impassable by Sunday. Saturday, we're not going to get a ton of ice accumulation, maybe a tenth of an inch. So there will be some slick spots, but it will depend on how well. I think the interstates and things like that on Saturday will still be fairly passable. But definitely by Saturday evening into Sunday morning, that's when Atlanta's going to shut down. Is by that point, and really Sunday is when those power outages are going to start happening. Once we get over that 1/4 of an inch mark, so you can see here Sunday morning 1 a.m. we're just under a 1/4 of an inch, and then by 7 a.m. we're basically at a 1/3 of an inch by Sunday morning at 7 a.m. So that's when those power outages is going to really ramp up, is going to be during the day and throughout the day on Sunday, as that ice just continues to accumulate and accrete on those power lines, tree branches. The other thing you'll want to be mindful of is even your gutters. If you have gutters and they get filled because it's going to be raining right ahead of time on Thursday and Friday. So if you've got leaves in your gutters, you probably, if you're able to, get those cleared out. Because with the rain and all those leaves in there, that just creates a bunch of extra weight, so that can cause your gutters to actually break off of your house with all this sleet and freezing rain inside of them, because it'll basically just fill up and become a huge trough of ice, and then that can cause leaks to come into your house and stuff like that. So just a thought there as well. So again, just kind of to recap for anyone that may have just been joining us, significant ice storm definitely looking like it is possible. We are still 4 days away from this event. Today is Tuesday. We're not expecting this to start until Saturday. Okay? So we've got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday morning to really start nailing this thing down. So by tomorrow's going to be a really key day for us. I'll be doing another live stream tomorrow night as well right here. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button and you've got those notifications turned on. When you subscribe, by default, it'll have the notifications turned off. Click the little drop-down arrow and make sure you got those notifications so you'll get notified when I go live. If possible, we'll try and get out on the roads some on Saturday till conditions get too dangerous, and then we need to get back home. But, yeah, it is definitely looking like it's going to be a pretty significant event for not just Georgia, but this is going to be for, again, just taking a broad view out here. I mean, really from Texas and Oklahoma all the way through the Carolinas. I mean, this is an absolutely monster ice storm. This is that ice again. I mean, places out here in Mississippi, potentially 3/4 of an inch of ice. A good area of 1/2 of an inch of ice here across South Carolina into southern North Carolina. And then that decreases the further north that you go. But I think we'll actually have 2 bullseyes area. One across Mississippi, the Arklamis region right here, I think is going to be a bullseye area for ice. And then here from Atlanta east over into South Carolina, I think is going to be another bullseye area. How far north this little warm nose in Alabama can push could decrease some of the ice totals. But we'll keep you guys updated. Thank you guys for being a part of this live stream. Be sure to share it with a friend. But there's a lot that can change between now and Saturday. But again, when I go back 2-3 days, regardless, I can go back to early on Monday, right, on the same thing. And guess what I'm seeing? It wasn't as significant on Monday, still showing an ice storm, but it wasn't as significant. So really the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 runs, basically we're just seeing these totals with each run. They just have been getting higher and higher, right? So that's just showing us that confidence for an ice storm across our area is increasing. Don't focus on the totals yet. Focus on the fact that we're going to likely have an ice storm, 70 to 80% chance that we have accumulation of at least 1/10 of an inch of ice. Even 1/10 of an inch of ice can cause problems. It may not cause widespread power outages at that point, but it's still going to cause problems on the roads and with some of the tree branches. But the point is, our totals are going in the wrong direction when it comes to the amount of ice that we're looking at potentially seeing. Snowfall does look to be confined more to the north. Could that change? Again, it's going to depend on the track of the storm. If this storm tracks closer to the coast, right, that could bring that snow line further south, giving us more snow and less ice, but making things worse for our friends down to the south. But if the trends continue and we keep the snow mainly across Tennessee, North Carolina into Virginia, then we're looking at, again, which is what the current thinking is and has been for the past 2 days, basically we're looking at this really being mostly an ice storm with a little bit of snow toward the end. So we'll keep you guys posted. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow night right back here on Extreme Weather Videos. So have a good night, everyone. Stay safe. Get those preparations going underway, right? You need to have all your preparations done by Friday. Figure out where you're going to be by Friday, and stay safe out there. Okay, this is going to be historic for our area. Many people have not seen an ice storm like this since the 80s. That was the last time that we had a really, really bad ice storm from climatology. So this could be on par with something of that magnitude. So I'll catch you guys in the next live stream. Have a great night.